Have you ever noticed that the harder you try to fall asleep, the more awake you feel? Or the more you desperately chase happiness, the further it flees from you? It is like trying to smooth rough water with a flat iron. You only stir it up more. We are a generation drowning in our own thoughts, paralyzed by a mind that refuses to shut up. But what if the secret to clarity isn't thinking harder, but learning exactly how to stop? The human mind is a magnificent servant, but a terrible master. Most of us live our lives trapped inside a conceptual prison of our own making. We think and think and think until we have thought ourselves entirely out of reality. We confuse the world as it is with the world as we talk about it, translate it, and measure it. There is a profound difference between the real world of nature, of feeling, of immediate experience, and the world of words, symbols, and thoughts. Alan Watts often pointed out that a person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts. They lose touch with reality entirely. They live in a world of illusions. By illusions, we do not mean that the physical world doesn't exist. We mean that the way we conceptualize it, the way we chop it up into separate pieces and obsess over the past and the future, is a hallucination. We are constantly preparing to live, but never actually living. We are always looking for the next moment, the next achievement, the next breath, hoping that it will finally give us the peace we crave. But it never does, because the future is a phantom. It does not exist. The only reality is the eternal now. To understand how to stop thinking, we must first understand what thinking actually is. Thinking is an internal chatter. It is a constant translation of the present moment into words. When you look at a beautiful sunset, the mind immediately wants to say, "Look at that beautiful red color." The moment you say that, you are no longer looking at the sunset. You are looking at your thought about the sunset. You have substituted the direct experience for a symbol. It is like going to a restaurant, reading the menu, and trying to eat the printed words instead of the food. The menu is useful. It tells you what is available. But if you try to satisfy your hunger by chewing on the paper, you will starve. Most of us are starving for genuine experience because we are eating the menu of life. Now, how do you stop it? If you try to force your mind to be quiet, what happens? You create a second thought to fight the first thought. You say to yourself, "I must stop thinking." That itself is a thought. Then you get angry at yourself for thinking about stopping thinking. You are trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The mind cannot be forced into silence because the entity that is trying to force the mind to be quiet is the mind itself. It is a snake biting its own tail. It is like trying to wipe blood off a mirror with a bloody cloth. You only make it dirtier. The secret to stopping thinking is not suppression. It is pure, non-judgmental observation. You must learn to listen to your thoughts in the exact same way you listen to the sounds of everyday life. When you hear a car drive past your window, or when you hear the rain falling on the roof, you do not judge the sound. You do not argue with the rain. You do not say, "That rain is too loud, it should be pitching a different note." You simply sit back and let the sound wash over you. You perceive it without trying to fix it or change it. Do the exact same thing with your mind. Sit quietly and let your thoughts happen. If a thought arises about your bank account, or an argument you had 5 years ago, or what you are going to eat for dinner, do not try to push it away. Do not judge it as a bad thought. Just listen to it as if it were a dog barking in the distance, or the wind howling through the trees. It is just noise. It is just a vibration happening in the space of your consciousness. When you look at your thoughts this way, a strange transformation occurs, because you are no longer feeding the thoughts with your energy. Because you are no longer fighting them or chasing them, they begin to slow down on their own. The mud in the water settles because you have stopped stirring the pool. You realize that you are not the thoughts. You are the space in which the thoughts are occurring. You are the sky, and the thoughts are just clouds passing through. The clouds come and go, they can look dark and stormy or light and fluffy, but they do not alter the fundamental nature of the sky itself. We have been conditioned by a society that prizes anxious effort above all else. We are taught from a very young age that if we aren't worrying, we aren't doing anything useful. We believe that if we stop thinking, we will become stupid, or we will lose our edge, or we will fail. But this is completely false. True intelligence does not come from anxious chattering in the brain. True intelligence operates perfectly well without words. Look at your own body. Right now, your heart is beating, your lungs are expanding and contracting, your stomach is digesting food, and millions of cellular processes are happening simultaneously. Are you thinking about doing any of that? Are you conscious of making your fingernails grow? No. Your body is doing it with a supreme, effortless intelligence that far exceeds anything your conscious mind could ever direct. If you had to consciously think about making your heart beat, you would die within a minute because you would get distracted by a random thought. There is a vast unconscious wisdom operating within you and within the entire universe. The trees grow without an instruction manual. The stars shine without a cosmic engine room. The universe moves effortlessly in a state of supreme play. When you learn to stop your compulsive thinking, you open the door to this deeper intelligence. You allow yourself to be lived by life, rather than trying to force life to fit into your narrow ideas of how it ought to be. Alan Watts used the analogy of a mirror to explain the perfect state of consciousness. A mirror does not choose what it reflects. If a beautiful flower comes before it, the mirror reflects a flower. If a monster comes before it, the mirror reflects a monster. The mirror does not try to hold on to the flower after it leaves, and it does not run away from the monster when it arrives. It has no preferences. It leaves no trace. When the object goes, the mirror is completely empty again, ready to receive whatever comes next. Your mind should be like that mirror. Let the world pass through it without grasping, without resisting. When you live this way, you realize that there is no problem to solve. The idea that life is a problem to be solved is the ultimate illusion created by the thinking mind. Life is not a problem. It is a dance, it is a song, it is a game. When you play a game of cards, or when you listen to a piece of music, what is the purpose? Is the purpose of a song to get to the very last note? If it were, then the best songs would be the ones that played the fastest. If the purpose of life were just to reach an end goal, then the pinnacle of life would be death. But the purpose of a song is the listening, the dancing, the moving while the music is playing. You do not dance to get to a specific spot on the floor. You dance to enjoy the movement itself. But the thinking mind cannot understand this. The thinking mind is always instrumental. It always asks, what is this for? What am I going to get out of this? Where is this leading? Because of this, we treat our entire lives as a series of obstacles to be overcome on the way to some imagined destination. We go to school so we can go to high school. We go to high school so we can go to college. We go to college so we can get a job. We get a job so we can get a promotion. We get a promotion so we can retire. And when we finally reach retirement, we look back and realize we missed the entire thing. We were never there. We were always living for the next step, and we never noticed that every single step was the destination itself. To break free from this trap, you must learn the art of meditation. And meditation, as Alan Watts taught it, is not a grim spiritual exercise. It is not sitting cross-legged on a cushion, torturing your knees, trying to achieve some mystical state of enlightenment. That is just another form of ambition. That is just a spiritual greed, trying to get a trophy called nirvana. True meditation is simply being fully aware of what is happening right now, without any desire to change it. It is sitting down and listening to the ambient sounds of your room. It is feeling the weight of your body on the chair. It is watching the breath go in and the breath go out. You don't try to breathe deeply, you just let the breath breathe itself. You become a pure witness. You look at the world around you not as a collection of things with names, like chair, table, wall, window, but as a field of changing sensations, colors, and shapes. When you strip away the words and labels from reality, the world becomes an incredibly vibrant, magical place. You realize that the boundaries between things are artificial. We think that the shore is separate from the ocean, but where does the shore end and the ocean begin? They are two aspects of the same movement. We think that we are separate from the universe, that we are dropped into this world as strangers. But you do not come into this world. You come out of it in the exact same way that a leaf comes out of a tree or a wave comes out of the ocean. You are the universe expressing itself as a human being for a brief moment in time. When this realization hits you, the frantic, anxious need to think and control everything simply dissolves. You realize you don't need to control the universe. You are it. The pressure is off. You don't need to figure everything out. You don't need to know what is going to happen tomorrow, because tomorrow does not exist. If you are constantly anxious about the future, it means you lack faith in your own existence. You are afraid that if you don't actively manage every single thought and detail, everything will fall apart. But look at your life. The most important things that ever happened to you were completely out of your control. You did not choose to be born. You did not design your own eyes or your own brain. You did not choose the family you were raised in. The entire foundation of your life was given to you effortlessly as a gift. Why then do you think you have to anxiously control the rest of it? To stop thinking is to trust the current of life. It is like floating in water. If you are afraid of drowning, you thrash around, you scream, you stiffen your body, and you sink like a stone. But if you simply relax, loosen your muscles, and lay back, the water holds you up naturally. You don't have to do anything to stay afloat, except stop fighting the water. Life is exactly the same way. The more you fight it with your rigid concepts and anxious thoughts, the deeper you sink into suffering. The moment you let go and trust the flow, you find that you are perfectly supported. This does not mean you become lazy or inactive. It means your actions become effortless. When an archer shoots an arrow with perfect mastery, they do not think about the mechanics of the bow. They do not calculate the angles in their head. They become one with the bow, one with the arrow, and one with the target. The arrow shoots itself. When a master musician plays an instrument, they are not thinking about the notes or the finger placements. The music flows through them like water through a pipe. This is what the ancient Chinese sages called Wu Wei, effortless action or action without friction. It is the art of sailing instead of rowing. When you step out of your mind and step into the present moment, you realize that this very moment is completely perfect as it is. It doesn't need to be improved upon. It doesn't need a past to justify it, and it doesn't need a future to complete it. It is whole, complete, and absolute. So take a deep breath, let it out slowly. Look at the room around you. Listen to the immediate sounds. Let go of your names, your titles, your worries, and your plans. For just a few moments, drop the heavy burden of being a person who has to figure everything out. Allow yourself to just exist. You are not your thoughts. You are the silent, beautiful, eternal awareness behind them, and in that awareness there is absolute peace.